No funning!
Team Freedom looking to do what has been impossible for any team here in Part 2, and that is take down Tempo Storm. They have won one game, but they are now down 2, and Tempo Storm are hoping for smooth sailing from here.
They had a stumble though, you know, losing one game I feel like in itself, even though we've had crazier mix-up in North America, I still feel like that means something for, you know, their rivals here, or their opponents at least here. At Tempo Storm, they want to just come out, finish this series, and walk away, definitely. After the last game, it does feel like they're still, you know, they aren't at a point where they're going to get upset anytime soon. So now it's just being clean, being dominant, and showing that more aggressive play style.
Yeah, the fewer games to lose, the better, especially since they're playing Gale Force next week. They want to put on a strong front, not make it look like there are any huge weaknesses. Now, Team Freedom, having lost the last game, likely are going to choose first pick. We know that of them in the past, which means Tempo is Tempo would be picking the Battlegrounds. Let's see if that still holds true. And it does. Team Freedom elected for first pick. Tempo Storm have chosen Tomb.
Tomb over Braxis, which is what I naturally would have thought for Tempo Storm, looking, you know, at their performance in Part 1. Braxis holdout was a very go-to thing for North America, but, you know, Dragonshire kind of took its place.
Tempo's most picked battleground, too, is Towers, but what do we know about Team Freedom? Team Freedom likes Towers, too, so that's not the most likely ability for Tempo Storm to be able to take a team to a place, Freedom to a place, and have a huge benefit over them. And Tempo lost to Superstars on Towers. What are you doing?
I lost.
You're heading all the way over
I have
there.
3 monitors, and this is the one I normally stare at, and it wasn't held in the draft for a moment. So I was trying to figure out which of these 2 I wanted to go to, and I realized over here it's like
Bye.
It's so far away. That's what we experienced.
Hello from the other side.
It's like, oh man, you just the tension of just barely out, just so close.
And lightning strikes.
So the Malfurion picked up for Freedom. Where's the Arthas Greymane fall for Tempo Storm when looking at Tomb of the Spider Queen?
For context, Freedom has not played a game on Tomb yet in Part 2. Tempo has played 1 versus Superstars, drafting in Ultra Wave Clear composition with Johanna, with Kael'thas 2, Rhaegar Greymane.
The Greymane still sat up high, but the Zarya was picked up in the first rotation for Tempo Storm. See, the thing is that makes a lot of sense when Zarya is let through. But now it's, what does it mean when Zarya is not? Where does the Arthas and Greymane still fall? So there's a Gul'dan. Do we see something different in ETC for Tempo?
It's been a bit since the Rock God has emerged in a HGC game. Switching things up a lot are Tempo Storm. Gul'dan taken away. Team Freedom have played a lot of Gul'dan before. Also, again, big wave clear hero for the rotation. Team Freedom, though, they have Malfurion. So they already have the support that Collusion has been making a name for himself on in Part 2. Arthas is still up.
I mean, that is near the highest valued ETC ever in Part 2.
Yeah.
It was volunteered above every other warrior. I'm just trying to figure out why. It's not even the fact that ETC was picked, it's just where he was picked considering the options. What does he provide to the map or the direction of the composition that Tempo Storm is going to move in this game? The Ragnaros pick up for Freedom. It's a map where we still see, you know, Ragnaros picked up at least internationally, is still respected here on this map. Maybe not so much in North America. Yeah. Honestly, outside of Freedom, almost no one feels like they pick him.
Well, he'll stall very well for Nazebo, too.
Yeah.
Hoping for a good defense through all of Tempo Storm's initial turn-ins with the Web Weavers so that Nazebo can quickly get to his power spikes. Spider Colony at 16, Vile Infection, finishing those stacks for 20. Tempo Storm considering a Johanna ban, trying to control wave clear?
Yeah, definitely trying to stop what Freedom has shown so far into their draft now, hovering all the Warriors. They want rid of one. I feel like, depending on what Tempo Storm wants to draft, Arthas makes the most amount of sense. But I feel like that means they're going to be picking up the Murden in their next rotation. Because what that does is, it not only cripples, if Freedom all-ins the 4-man and being successful with that, they should struggle in team fighting. And they already have a really wave clear oriented composition. The Johanna would mean they lack that much more in damage. They'll still be able to manipulate the map well, but there's really nothing to set up the Ragnaros. So the Arthas ban there limits a lot when it comes to map and the 4-man itself and the lethal and putting them only into the wave clear. But then you can pick up the Murder in the next rotation, and then nothing sets up the Ragnaros for a clean setup. Now the Arthas, Murden, and ETC have all been removed.
We've seen some pairing with Johanna and Condemn.
Yeah, it just, I'm not as convinced.
Not ideal.
Yeah, it's just one of those, it is a thing. It very much is a thing, but until we see enough teams practice that Condemn into Sulfurous Smash, like where you almost precast the Sulfurous Smash expecting the Condemn to come in, it just feels like until we see that level of synergy, it's much like, you know, old school Stitches comps. Until you perfectly time up your follow-up, it really just isn't as convincing as just the hero itself. But it could work. I just feel like the Murden makes a lot of sense for Tempo Storm. Otherwise, the Arthas ban feels a little out of place.
You would think a second warrior would be here if Tempo want to make sure that they get the best of the warrior pool before Freedom head into these last two picks. But that is not what they're doing. Thrall and Rhaegar.
The Thrall makes a little sense, purely just based on the fact that Dahaka is not that great, and nobody can really match in the Ragnaros. That's the one thing, I mean, we've talked about it, where I've been surprised that Ragnaros just vanished based on the fact that he's still really, really good in lane. He's an effective solo. He's good on certain maps when it comes to his Molten Core and taking over the objectives, but Thrall holds his own into the Ragnaros still. If not, might even be able to outpoke him.
Yeah, it seems to become a game of who can gank whom.
Yeah.
Who gets pulled out of position, who gets baited out of position, and who has the better wave player where they can sacrifice one or two people to go get those picks.
Tempo Storm's last pick is something weird. Freedom is going to take a Zeratul.
There's your setup for Ragnaros.
Yeah, that's where I thought we would see. There it is. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. The ETC now suddenly doesn't seem empty. You know, because again, I talked a lot about Warriors, I guess, in that draft now, thinking about it and reflecting upon it, but mainly just the why ETC here with the certain ban order and the fact that they didn't take the Murden in the next rotation didn't make much sense. But if you're going to take an Alarak, it makes a lot of sense to prioritize the ETC that high. You're looking for the kill comp into the 4, the Thrall to be able to match the solo. It all adds up now. Alarak is not your solo laner. He's a part of your 4 for a kill man.
What is interesting is that Tempo Storm is drafting a double melee assassin composition. Not at all the norm, especially for Tempo Storm. We'll see if it pays off for them. We'll see if they can get the final win to be able to take this series.
We'll see if they can. Going to be a bit more dead ball-y like we saw in game number 1. If they're going to be able to do that here, but it is going to be played very different than what we saw in the last game. You know, it's not going to be the... you know, I guess it won't be that different. It'll be into the 4-man. It'll be between mid and top, looking for the kill combo. You pull them in with telekinesis. The power slide follows up, and you silence afterwards. Displacing, locking down, and then disabling.
Dread, do you feel like Tempo Storm has to do any amount of damage with this kill composition to be especially effective, making sure that they can get enough done before the Ragnaros Zeratul, for instance, that wombo combo, or even Nazebo in the late game? Or is Gul'dan enough good in the late game as well to cover that?
I do think Tempo Storm has to win the early game pretty convincingly, honestly, especially with the Alarak pick, because the Gul'dan bought them a lot of time on the draft to be like, well, at least you're wave clear, because Gul'dan legitimately is just so good at wave clear that you don't need, he does the work of 2 heroes almost, most of the time. So the fact that his wave clear is so good, it allows them to go into a kill comp and not lose too many resources. But they are still so far behind in almost every other department that I do feel like, yeah, their 4-man is going to have to be successful in team fighting. Or just the early game, period.
Yeah, the early picks.
Because otherwise, their team fight just falls off so hard that I just don't see it working out. And the fact that Ragnaros is already drawing rotations of members from the 4-man on the side of Tempo Storm is a bad, bad sign, especially Psalm getting caught out and going down.
There was no telekinesis. Feral Spirit does not root Zugrug, but this help was needed from Team Freedom because Nasmus was pushed all the way back into his base. It is a time when Ragnaros is trying to get enough stacks in his Sulfurous Hungers, and that is a vulnerable time for Ragnaros where he can get caught with rotations and picks. But this time, Team Freedom getting first blood, getting the first pick, and that might be what pushes Thrall and Alarak back so they're not as aggressive in this bottom lane.
I think one of the things, too, when looking at this bottom lane for Psalm rotating down below, because Freedom feels comfortable kind of forcing this 2 versus 1 on bottom, Psalm is like the last person you want rotating, again, because it cripples what your 4-man can get away with. Just based on the fact that he's so focused on getting kills. That's all he really does. Talking about kills, Nasmus going to end up falling here. That is even in 8 kills so far now for Tempo Storm and Freedom here in game number 4.
You could see them denying stacks. Nasmus just had to sit back in the base. He's only been able to get 8 out of his total 30 needed on minion kills. So slowing that down as much as he can. Maybe once Ragnaros gets his stacks, then we'll see Alarak be more mobile and rotating around with the rest of the team.
Tempo Storm even getting an early giant camp, not something you see every day on Tomb. It's going to just draw more aggro here to the bottom lane.
Ragnaros is in the top. Team Freedom have had enough of this ploy from Tempo Storm, so the Tempo will leave with the Giants, putting on damage. Will they match that rotation, or are they just going to leave Gul'dan up there?
I'd like to see them try and match it, but it doesn't look like they will, at least not yet. The combo from Alarak leads to another kill here, 2-1 so far. Insomnia knows June is soloing this night camp. That is one dead June.
He telekinesed on the point, but it wasn't in time.
Silence, he's got the teleport. Nope, not today. That is going to be another pick here, but Tempo Storm, you know, at least they lost June there. That could have been worse. June could have made it out alive.
1 for 1, but Insomnia stole the point. Psalm almost took the point in time. Not quite in range. That's getting cleared up ever so slowly. Tempo Storm with the picks they've gotten so far and their rotations and the takedown on towers has amassed almost a level lead, but importantly 7 advantage after just a few more minions.
Good root. Good zombie wall. Insomnia has the bolt on out of there. Thought for sure that might lead to them getting a kill here early on for Freedom. The kill composition of Tempo Storm doesn't have necessarily the ideal burst follow-up you would want. You know, Gul'dan doesn't usually have that single target DPS to be able to kill the telekinesis target. So we'll see if that becomes a problem as the game moves on. But a Malfurion is one of the weaker supports into that, so it should be okay as long as they don't accidentally telekinesis collusion into a perfect Twilight Dream. Tempo Storm has managed to get some gems turned in. They have enough for a complete turn in itself. Door Toss interrupted here. No Cleanse the Land. Would have been one dead Zugrug for sure.
Insomnia is still chasing after Psalm, but they can't quite secure a kill. Stack update, 20 on Sulfurous Hungers. Widowmakers is just about there. And Pursuit of Flame still a long way from being done. Gul'dan has been trying his best just to stay alive, even using a cleanse to get away from Zugrak.
No team is getting the turn in yet. Tempo Storm looks to be forcing. Insomnia with the interrupt. Beautiful teleport away. Perfectly timed. It's just a lot of focus onto the turn in itself here for Freedom, it feels like. But Tempo Storm is a level ahead just from the pressure they managed to get outward. If they get a turn in on top of it, it might be good night here for Freedom as they get the first Web Weaver phase. Tempo Storm is going to be opening up the map.
They've already done some structural damage, especially in the bottom lane when Thrall and Alarak were putting a lot of pressure and forcing Ragnaros back. Trying to clear out these waves as best they can too, both to get experience and to push these Web Weavers up as close as possible. Molten Core used in mid.
Real early. Not even waiting until it gets up to the front wall, just flat out just gonna drop in max range, poke it down. Safe positioning for him to rid of that mid, but bottom doesn't luckily have, you know, a huge fire guy to be able to take over it, and it looks like it'll be falling down here as 10 is just now going to be picked up for Tempo Storm.
Deadly Charge again or Counter-Strike this time?
You know, somehow I feel like we aren't going Deadly Charge this game, but I might be wrong here.
Earthquake, Horrify, Counter-Strike.
It's got to be Mosh.
Yeah. And Freedom will expect that as well.
Look at Tempo Storm almost having a secondary turn in. That was one thing I did like about the turn in timing for Tempo. It's just any time that you can try and stack a double, it can really lead for some huge plays. Fury's going to start this, but with how many gems Freedom has, they should be able to get a free counter turn in.
Unless they don't realize in time. This is going super fast. Insomnia is moving to the bottom turn-in point now.
Zugrak sees the boss. It shows that they're up there, but this is going to be a turn-in here for Freedom.
And Azebo had the gems needed. So red Web Weavers descending versus the boss of Tempo Storm.
Even got the Knight pushing out with these Web Weavers, and this top boss is really not going to gain that much. So what can Freedom do after the boss is dealt with here? Bottom is going to be a free clean for Tempo Storm. Mid is already kind of being looked at with that Night Camp moving out. So really top lane is the only place Freedom should be able to push out and really do anything with.
If Freedom can leave Ragnaros to clear out the boss and then move in and scare off Tempo Storm, then maybe they can get more done here as they go into mid. There is Rhaegar and Alarak in the bottom lane clearing out that Web Weaver. It is dead now. Top still moving. So as long as Team Freedom can keep Tempo Storm here in the mid, that will get some free push of its own.
There we go. There goes Freedom rotating to top. How much can they make happen with that? The combo goes out. The Void is used.
Twilight Dream, Collusion steps in, but Horrify hits him as the Void drops. So nice from Koth and Lux. Sulfurous Smash hits a couple. Twilight Dream still did go off. Fury being chased down by spiders. Insomnia picks up that kill. 1-0, Team Freedom. It looked scary, but in the end, able to make it out.
And it was when it mattered because the Web Weaver on top has still not been cleared there, allowing them to get a lot of structural damage out, more than maybe they could have normally hoped for being a level down pre-10 and facing an early game boss the same way they were. June gets the Stormbolt onto him, but it looks like the 40 gems he holds are going to be in fine hands for now.
Kata looking for the flank, has his eyes on Ragnaros. A cleanse and Rags moves back. But Tempo Storm still have 13 advantage. They maintain this great control over the experience and somehow even kept all of their forts alive.
June will get this turn in here. So the second Web Weaver phase going over to Tempo. As you said, with the 13 talents here, with 2 forts already down, top fort the last one standing, Tempo Storm can really just look to buy a little bit of time with threat to a keep front wall and really try and open up this map, furthering their experience lead. If they, you know, if they can remove any, like probably 2 kills worth of gems on the side of Freedom and limit their ability to get a counter turn in afterwards as well, that would be about as good as it gets here of a Web Weaver phase.
All the heroics are here for Freedom, so once the clear out is done, or even beforehand, if they can see a grouping from Tempo Storm around this mid, Void Prison and the combo, maybe enough to scare Tempo Storm back. There's Molten Core dropping. Tempo Storm back off from that.
Can I just say that Fury's patience as an anchor is direct response to Tempo Storm. Ragnaros flank right on that exact same position. You could see the minute he saw Ragnaros, he said, "Can I leave now?" And somebody's like, "Nah, go back. We can't get flanked here." And
it's great to see that adaptation.
It's just really funny to, you know, see, because he came out all excited. He's like, you know, can I play now? Am I ready to join the video game with everybody else? Can we play? Can we win? And they're like, nope, you gotta still anchor. We need help. The gems are enough for a turn in here, as no kill was gained by Tempo Storm, but they are 3/4 a level away from that 16 advantage. It's even getting quicker down to the half. As Freedom looks like they're gonna try and force a turn in. What can they make happen?
A lot of self-sustained talents at level 13. Superstition, Resilient Flame, Thunderburn, Ice Block, Mending Strikes, all for Team Freedom. And I'm looking to get something done at least before Tempo Storm gets 16. Tempo have had a very constant lead over Team Freedom pretty much every single game right around this point.
Tempo Storm with the 16 is just nothing, and Freedom's giving it to him. I really thought we would see Freedom better force this, you know, awkward middle ground of a time to try and get this turn in, to be able to buy a long enough time to be able to make up for what is a 2-level disadvantage.
Do they feel like they can get enough, or get to 16 before Tempo gets a turn in?
I mean, that's not so much before Tempo gets a turn in, but it's more of because Tempo cannot force a turn in, and Tempo does not have the 16 talent tier advantage, they are banking on the fact that, yeah, that weird limbo of them hanging around, clearing waves, and getting everything on the map, that Freedom either will get a turn in for free at some point in that, or they'll get 16 talent tier. It is really next level.
Insomnia is trying to get that secret turn in.
It's just really hard to do. You know what I mean? A lot of the times, decisions made, especially by North American teams, I can understand why a lot of them are made. It just comes down to how hard is it to execute these type of things, right? Because sometimes it's like, no, that makes all the sense in the world as long as, you know, again, the stars kind of align, your opponents make huge mistakes.
Well, Cattle spots that Team Freedom is able to devote, or chooses to devote, a lot of heroes to getting this Web Weaver phase, so Tempo Storm quickly gets the boss to nullify some of the effect of these Web Weavers. Buying time for Tempo Storm to clear out the rest. They're clearing out mid, they're clearing out bottom. No forts will be taken down from these. Mid or top really is the best hope for Team Freedom to have a Web Weaver, and by the point that they're pushing along with that, Tempo Storm will be ready for them with all the heroics and still a 16 talent tier advantage. Team Freedom spent a lot of gems to buy time for them to get 16.
It's all about the 16, really. I mean, we legitimately probably could have put the game on a pause button for the past couple while. And it's just like, well, does Freedom have 16? And if yes, then we might see something happen. And if no, they're just going to try and wait until they get it. They have enough gems. 69 gems available for them. Tempo Storm, though, has enough themselves.
They do, and Freedom aren't quite there at the 16 point to stop. All the turn-in are happening in the top lane. Fury is in the bottom just stalling out, but he's not one who has any of these gems. Team Freedom running to the top, trying to stop.
They have 16, they're going in! Or they're just stormbolt.
Insomnia, keep your eyes on him. He's looking for the big Void Prison that can be followed up with Twilight Dream and Sulfurious Smash. Team Freedom want to get a turn-in that will not be negated by a boss, not be negated by a talent tier advantage.
Going to try. For now, it's a bit of a waiting game. The bottom channel, attempted, not complete. Psalm with 30 gems in his hands is one channel away from getting these web weavers. The combo goes in, lands onto the, Zeratol, and he is already going to get picked. The Sulfurous Smash was used. Tempo Storm's not done. There drops the Earthquake. Beautiful zombie wall can buy a bit of room, but Fury quickly knocks it back.
Zogrug is the target. Still has avatars. Dwarf tossed away. Horrified though. Things are going from bad to worse for Team Freedom as Collusion walks into the waiting arms of Tempo Storm.
I have to commend Cotton Luck for that Horrify, because what that did, how he did it, so Collusion wasn't out of position until he moved up for the cleanse onto the power slide, thinking that the cleanse on the power slide would be enough to get a pick. So that Collusion gets out of place trying to save somebody else on his team, and then by using the cleanse and trying to save him, leads to a perfect Horrify as a counter response. Well, if you can't get one, at least we can get the Malfurion. Very well done, and that leads to the Web Weavers sieging up here through mid as Nasmus. Molten Core doesn't last very long here as we made it to the late game.
No, it's already out, and stun has hit Zogrug. Insomnia is in the back. Here we go, but there's no Sulfurous Smash.
Or Dream.
Malfurion's not in position to either follow up on it, so nothing done. It was just bind time again, and these combos from Psalm have been unreal.
Twilight Dream ends up landing on 3 people, but no kill to be gained. The keep is not going down either, but the top and bottom Web Weavers are now being dealt with for Freedom as they have sent Zeratol and Nazebo. Trying rid of those. Oh, the bottom keep ends up going down. Mid keep is very, very low. As the power slide combo goes out, they're on, and Nasmus Sulfurous Smash drops. But that is already one member dead. Mosh Pit first of the game ends up hitting 2 people. What can Tempo Storm get? Is that is now a 2-for-1 trade. Tempo Storm 3-for-1. And it looks like they've found themselves a minimum of another keep.
Tempo Storm are lethal with these abilities. The patience for Mosh Pit finally paying off and getting more and more kills. Combo pulls Dansky back in.
Dansky legitimately so tanky that I'm surprised he didn't just keep walking at Tempo Storm for that telekinesis, you know? He got hit with a full combo and was like looking at him like full HP, like what are you gonna do? Let's battle.
I've got Superstition. You don't scare me.
I thought we were going to see the ultimate Nazebo unlocked right there, but sadly, not today. We don't unleash, you know, the boss, the Mafia version of Nazebo yet.
That sounds like a great skin.
What happens when you throw out your spiders? It's like he's shooting a little Tommy gun or something?
They're the little bouncers.
Just little bouncers. As the toads jump up. Like, hey, what are you trying to do? You're in the wrong part of town here.
Mob Boss Nazebo. Or the Gargantuan could be one giant bouncer.
Ooh, I think that looks way better. And he's in a suit. Can he be?
Yes, he has to be in a suit.
He has to be like in a, yeah, okay. It's got that weird, or a suit. Okay, one up.
Here we go.
We go with the, you know, the t-shirts that are like a suit itself with the bow tie and the whole thing.
Yep.
We have a Nazebo bouncer wearing that, and obviously he's flexing, stretching out of the shirt. He's about to bust it. Take Calder, put that ×5. Okay.
Is he tanky enough to sustain this? There's the swing once again. Dansky drops though. Nasmus trying to save his teammates with this Molten Core. Sulfurous Smash goes down. Ancestral Healing keeps Fury alive. Team Freedom on the retreat.
Freedom is not done yet. They've lost one Sulfurous, or not Sulfurous Smash, but just the Q coming out from Ragnaros there. Got the proc and did a lot of damage, but nobody ended up going down. Tempo Storm gets themselves a second keep of this game. They walk away. Have I ever told you about my bouncer Gargantuan?
Let me hear it. Let me hear it.
No, it's just, I think he should be wearing he's, you know, he's kind of like letting you know he's party, but he's business, you know? And that's what he's flexing out of the shirt.
So he has a mullet?
No. That's what I'm talking about with the t-shirt that's representative of the suit. Like he's flexing out of it.
He's a modern day Mafia bouncer.
Exactly. I don't even know if Mafia's in it anymore. I just want a bouncer.
Could be like a club owner. No, I think it'd be best if, as he threw out Gargantuan, he was like, put it up, say hello to my little friend.
Exactly. That would be a good way to put it. The turn-in was delayed. but the boss was captured.
It's red web weavers, so Freedom will have web weavers to help with the lanes, but again, another boss, third boss of the game for Tempo Storm. No 20 for Team Freedom. And it feels like for forever they've been trying to get it. They're desperate to have 20. They're desperate to save their final keep. Tempo Storm is just about one perfect combo away. Nice stun stops that.
Yeah, I was like, wow, Zugrug with the prediction right there.
Yeah.
Stop the silence coming out to get the combo. The top keep falls. The web weavers are Freedom, so they're pushing out.
Every turn-in phase, every web weaver phase for Team Freedom has just been buying time.
One of the struggles of Tomb. You know, it's just one of those, half the time you have to turn in is just not to fall behind, which is where the argument of what is the most appropriate time to get the first turn in, right, kind of starts, because it's almost always feels like the team who started them all is the one who gets the upper hand and then has that kind of, they're never turning in to just make up for what they lost. They're actually turning in to be proactive. But Freedom, I never thought I'd say it. They have found themselves a level 20. They aren't there yet, but like they are just so very close. There they are. Versus 20 is this game. So there's a shot. It just still feels so very, very tiny. And the fact that they just don't even have to keep up. Lost all three.
The shot comes down to what we so often say is the potential miracle team fight comeback, which starts with Void Prison. Void, you've got Bolt, Twilight, Dream, although, again, they have to watch out for Horrify because Cawthon's been on point with those. Sulfurous Smash 2, we've got Molten Core, increased damage with heroic difficulty and health, and Vile Infection, as soon as it was picked up, was completed.
Tempo Storm has gems and Freedom does not. So Freedom is just all about defense and then getting the kills. Here it goes. Channel starting on bottom. All 5 members are moving their way down. Combo lands onto Zugra. Cleanse is going to be used. Avatar dropped as well.
That was Hardened Shield and Avatar. Insomnia goes in, trying to execute Cat. Oh! Sulfurous Smash!
Storm shielded by, that was going to be from June.
Yep.
So good save there, keeps him alive. Combo once again going on to Zugrug. Bolt, Twilight, Dream, it lands, hits 4. Void is going to be used. Zugrug goes in, not going to get a dwarf toss. Insomnia trying to get damage onto Cawthon. Everyone fine for now, but the power slide onto Insomnia. Tempo Storm gets the first pick. The Ancestral lands, so that keeps Cattle up. Now that's 2. The Bolt Boss lands. That is 3, 4, and the Molten Core a smidge too late. That is going to be it. Tempo Storm look like they are going to be able to take this series 3-1 over Freedom.
Yeah, Nasmus is going to pop out of here, not in a happy spot with all of Tempo Storm waiting for him. Full 5-man team fight. The best way to end a series, Tempo Storm. Again, huge shout out to Cawthon Luck with these Horrifies this game. They lost 1 game to Team Freedom. That's all they will give to any team in Part 2. Tempo Storm wins the series.
They win the series. I feel like they might not be totally satisfied with their performance, but happy to remain there at the top of North America. It's just they've only been more stern on themselves, looking at their own games and their play, and it's, in my opinion, part of the reason for why we see Tempo Storm get better, but then also, you know, it leads to them always kind of looking at their series being like, you know, we shouldn't have done this, we shouldn't have done that. But at least they anchored, so it's positive improvement.
They did not get caught with a Molten Core from behind.
They did not.
That is definitely true. There were great plays. Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll see what June is thinking. Here we get to talk to him, which I'm really excited about how the team is feeling after that. They did lose 1 game, but super solid game number 1, obviously, being able to win Cursed Hollow so dominantly. And then here on Tomb of the Spider Queen, just complete control. Same with Battlefield of Eternity.
And so what that did in terms of questions that we posed at the beginning of the day, what does that mean for this series? Tempo Storm, I would have definitely expected a 3-0. So the fact that it was 3-1, maybe a bit more towards, you know, North America is still not as stable as we expected it to be, but Tempo Storm is confidently number 1. Everyone else, who knows? But we have a number 1. That's it.
Yeah, they haven't maybe locked in the spot yet, but it is very certain. We're pretty certain that Tempo Storm will claim that #1 spot, which means everyone else now is duking it out for the playoffs positions more than anything, making sure that they don't have to play too many series to go through playoffs. But again, Tempo Storm hasn't played Gale Force Esports yet, so
I'm just, Gale Force lost to No Tomorrow. I just can't do it anymore.
yes, but Gale Force Esports, you know how hard they'll be preparing for that series.
That's true.
The only thing is Gale Force has to play 2 series that weekend, and traditionally when they have to play 2 series,
they usually lose. Oh, they sacrifice the better team almost every single time, which conveniently is Tempo Storm, which in theory should mean that they lose that series.
I think they'll be preparing way harder for Tempo, but maybe not. We'll have to see. Right now, let's talk to Tempo. June, hey, congratulations. How are you guys feeling after that victory? We have talked to Sam before, and sometimes people are very happy. Sometimes you guys are feeling like it should have been more dominant. What are you guys feeling now?
I think on a Dragon Chart game, we were supposed to finish up more dominantly, but we kind of lost focus, I think, at the end. Some feed anyway, so yeah.
Well, I want to ask you about Alarak. You guys playing him quite a bit in this series. Is that for this series specifically, or is that something that you guys feel could be potentially strong in the meta moving forward?
About Alarak, Sam was always kind of known for Alarak back then. I think it could be pretty good. We're still experimenting. I can't say it's gonna be the pick, but so far, I think it's working out pretty well.
Yeah.
And for me, we got to talk about Lucio. So for Tempo Storm, your guys' Lucio pretty much in terms of priority just does not exist. So I just wanted to know, what are your thoughts on Lucio? Where does he belong? Where does he not? Do you feel like a lot of teams overhype him? Just what are some thoughts in general about him?
I mean, for me personally, I think Lucio is pretty good, but I guess it doesn't really fit our playstyle for now. It's kind of funny because when Lucio first came out, we were the one who started using it and having success out of it. But I don't know, maybe we're saving it for mid-season.
That could be cool. I'm ready to see some June Lucio. Well, congrats again. We'll let you give shout-outs before we let you go celebrate with your team.
Shout out to my team, of course. Shout out to Tempo. And I think Sam is streaming after this. And you can find him at twitch.tv/some something hot. Thanks you guys for casting. I think you guys are getting really good. And thanks for Blizzard, of course, for hosting this awesome league. I hope it really grows with the 2.0. Yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, June. It was a pleasure to get